Hey, Algebra 2 Trig, we're going to do 6.5 half and double angles. The essential question is, how do I find exact values using double and half angles? You're going to need the double angle formulas. It's a lot like the sum and difference ones, something you need to remember. And then the other thing you have to know is for cosine, there's 3 of them. So go ahead and copy it down and we can use any 3 of them. So these are my double angles. And then here are my half angles. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. And then the important things we'll talk about the signs of sine and cosine. Depends on which quadrant it lies in. Okay? All right. Okay, so example 1 is if they'll give me cosine of theta is 5/13. Theta is between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. And then find cosine of 2 theta. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first I have to draw a triangle, just like yesterday. So I'm going to draw a triangle. Theta is between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, so therefore it's in the 4th quadrant. And then cosine of theta is 5/13, so that's adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's 5/13, adjacent over hypotenuse. And then to find the third side, I'm going to use Pythagorean's theorem, but it is one of my Pythagorean triplets, so I do remember it's 12. The only other thing is, if I'm going down, this actually is -12. Okay? Alrighty, then I just have to find the cosine of 2 theta. So I'm going to use my formula that I've learned today. So cosine of 2 theta equals, and I can use any one of those equations. I'm going to pick one where it's 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. You can use any of them. They will still come out the same. Okay? All right, so this is really 2 cosine. Remember, the squared means I'm squaring the whole cosine. It's still the same thing. Okay? So what is the cosine of theta? Well, the cosine of theta is 5/13. Actually, it was given to begin with. Okay? And therefore, it would be 2 times 5/13 squared minus 1. And then 5/13 squared equals 2 times 25/169 minus 1, which is 50/169 minus 1. Well, instead of minus 1, I'm going to have a common denominator, so it's going to minus 169/169, and that will eventually simplify to -119/169. Okay, and sine and tangent are roughly this. Sine and tangent are roughly the same thing. I just have to pick one and use my triangle to find that particular value. Okay. Alrighty, so that's a double angle one. Let's do a half angle. Okay, so half angle will be, let's do find the exact value of sine of 105 degrees. Okay, so again, the word exact value means something that I'm going to get from the unit circle. Okay, and as you guys know by now, 105 is not in my unit circle. And actually, you could use a sum and difference one, but sometimes a half angle might be more useful. Okay, so instead of writing 105, I'm going to look at my half angles. I'm going to write 105 in a way that I know. So I'm going to write it as sine of 210/2, because 210/2 is still 105 degrees. Okay, and then I know my equation. I'm going to write it off to the side. Sine of u/2 is plus or minus 1 minus cosine of u all over 2. Okay, so right now, if I look at the equation, u is 210. So I'm going to equal square root of 1 minus cosine of 210 degrees all over 2. Okay, and then if you remember from your notes, it said you're going to use plus or minus depending on what sine of u over 2 is. Well, sine of u over 2 is 105. So sine is actually positive in the second quadrant, so it is going to be positive. Okay. All right, and then cosine of 210 is radical. Cosine of 210 is negative radical 3 over 2, so it is 1 minus negative radical 3 over 2 all over 2. Okay? And then from there, it's just some algebra. So I'm going to have 1 plus radical 3 over 2. So it'll be 1 plus radical 3 over 2 all over 2 square root. And then I'm going to get a common denominator, so this will be 2 over 2. So another way to write that would be 2 plus radical 3 over 2 all over 2. And then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is really 2 over 1, so I'm going to multiply by 1/2. So that would be 2 plus radical 3 over 2 times 1/2. Okay, and then if I simplify that, it would be radical 2 plus radical 3 all over 4. And then I'll probably go one more step because I do have a radical on the bottom. So the top will be radical of 2 plus radical 3. I'm not going to bother with the radical over radical. And then the bottom is radical 4, so it's 2. So that is your answer. Okay, a lot of algebra, kind of the same concept as yesterday. If you have any questions, go ahead and write that down.